Rev up your engines! All right, here's a 96 Chevy Cavalier. How can it still be going down the road after all these years? Well, here's one of the reasons why. It's only got 61,000 miles on it. If you think that's something for a 96, he bought it 2 years ago, and it only had 23,000 miles on it. And in reality, yes, it was a grandma car. It sat for years. His uncle bought it for 500 bucks, got it running, and he bought it from his uncle. Now, being from New York State, he had to spend about $1,000 He had to do brakes and stuff that had rusted. That's just old age. I mean, everybody knows Chevy quality. You can see the plastics coming off and stuff on it. Dings here and there. But, you know, it still runs down the road, right? It still has the original engine and transmission, but I mean, really. When his uncle got it, it only had 23,000. Now it's got 60-something thousand. So, not going to be worn out. They did make them better back in the day, truthfully. The old Chevys, they did make them better. And if you know anything about Cavaliers, they made them for a long time. They sold millions of these things at one point in time. Sedans aren't popular anymore. Chevy only really sells 2 sedans anymore. That's all they got. Everything else is SUVs and trucks. Compact cars go, which is what they call this. It was a pretty successful deal. It was really the first true compact car that GM made that sold millions. You can see it's compact, and there's some room in the back. This thing, as old as it is, 1996, a previous century, you can still get 33 miles a gallon on the highway and 27 in the city, because we open the hood and it's still got a hood prop in here. It hasn't fallen out yet. You can see this has a 4-cylinder engine. Now, it's a 2.2 liter, and they're actually very dependable engines. Now, the V6 that they put in back in the day weren't bad engines either. But here's the thing. This doesn't put out a ton of horsepower. The V6s put out a lot more, and guess what happened? With the V6s, the transmissions all went out. I had a guy drove like a maniac that owned one with a V6 and automatic. He blew the tranny at 30,000 miles. There was too much torque for that front-wheel drive transmission. This 4-cylinder engine, it's not straining the tranny as much. Now it's got 120 horsepower. Well, that's one of the reasons it can get 30-something miles a gallon still. It's not a racing vehicle, but now, of course, people laugh at how they look today, but really, back in the day, you look at the old Toyota Corollas, they were ugly too. This was the year of everything's made out of plastic. Of course, the plastic's all caked on the bumpers and everything. They're still there, but check it out. The hubcaps don't look bad. They look just like alloy wheels till you get close. You know? I always laugh at that because I personally like steel rims. The hubcaps look fine, but steel rims can last forever. You hit a bump, you can smash them back out. They can take a lot of pressure, just bend. If this had alloy wheels on, I guarantee you they'd all be broken by now, or they'd be pitted and leaking. The old steel rims are okay, just put hubcaps on them. Now, like I say, with the 4-cylinder engine, transmission still works fine. The V6s, they did eat up transmission. So if you're looking at one of these, maybe you can find another granny car sitting in the field or in a garage somewhere. Hey, stick to the 4-bangers, because automatic trannies in those 6s, you're probably going to have to do it over, and it'll be well over what you pay for the car, so it wouldn't be worth the bother. Now, of course, if it was low mileage like this, when they bought it at 23,000 miles, unless it was that maniac customer they had back in Houston decades ago who burned it out, even with a V6, it'd still probably have a decent transmission if you didn't beat it. See what this thing sounds like? Starts up, we'll turn the radio off, and you can feel it's misfiring. So the first thing we're going to do, scan tool will hook it up. Now this is a 96, so it's got OBD2. I have automatic VIN read, so we have to go manually here. So we'll go to 96, there we go. Passenger car, Cavalier, 2.2 liter. That's what it's got. 4-speed automatic, an auto scan. Here we go. Now while it's scanning it, kind of look around. Yeah, it's an economy car, and yes. If you don't know what that is, that's a hand crank. That's how the windows used to go up and down in cars. AC, it doesn't work now, but at one point in time it did. Radio still worked. Tape deck. This was even before CDs. It's got a tape deck. Little tapes went in there and they played music. They have various covers on them from where they weren't. And yeah, the plastic's a little cracked, but hey, still goes down the road. It's only got one trouble code. It is misfiring, you can tell that. So cylinder number 4 is misfiring. While we're at it, we'll look at live data. We'll start it up again. Check out the live data. Cylinder number 4 is misfiring, but none of the other ones. Only number 4. Now it's an old car, it's easy to figure out the misfires because 1 is in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. So for some reason, this one is misfiring. We'll look at the spark plug. So we'll pull out the number 4 spark plug, take a look at it. Always start simple. Could be a lot of things, but since this one's misfiring, we're going to take a look at it. Well, as you can see, it's worn. The tip isn't straight anymore. And I can smell a little gasoline on it, too. So I'm going to try one spark plug and see what happens. Well, he was smart. He brought some, so we're going to put one in. Easy enough to do. Get it snug and then a little bit more. That's plenty good. Of course, now the typical happens, the spark plug socket gets stuck. Oh, you wiggle it eventually, they come out. We get this on nice and tight. Snaps on. Twist it a little. Alright, that's on. Now we'll start it up. Now, as you can see, the misfire is 0 on cylinder number 4. Now I realized the plug was wet because it wasn't firing right. So the cylinder's a little bit wet. A lot of times you got to drive a good 3-4 days to clear it all out. It might miss a little here and there while you're going, but the old one was definitely worn, and just by looking at the age of these spark plug wires, the next thing to do, of course, would be to change the spark plug wires if it still misfires. Then what you do is pray that it's not a worn fuel injector. You know how old it is, 96. The thing's pushing 30 years old. We're going to put some of Bernie's fuel injector cleaner in the tank. So as it dries, say the pintle on number 4, maybe the injector pintle is sticking, and then it will spray too much gas and that'll help it misfire. This will clean any of that crud off. You just add it and go. And it shows you the old cars, now they all got the gas cap on the driver's side, which is logical. And these days, they threw them all over the place, so this one's on the passenger side, which is kind of confusing for most people. Now, I've been using this stuff for quite some time, and I found it can really do a lot for cleaning any kind of carbon, sludge, and this is an old car. We know it's sat for years, so cleaning it isn't going to hurt anything. You just put it in and drive. The whole bottle. Let's close the hood, take it for a spin. Merrily driving down the road. No backup camera on this baby, it's too old. Now in its day, this was a compact commuting car for people to drive around in. And like I said, they actually sold millions of these things. It wasn't like they didn't sell. They sold quite a few of them. As far as I'm concerned, it's really the only compact car that Chevrolet ever made that was a decent car. Vegas were rolling piles of crap, and they had so many problems with a lot of front-wheel drive cars. But these Cavaliers, I mean, look at this thing. It's a 96 and still going down the road. It's bumpy as all get-go now because it's old and the struts and stuff are all worn out. But, I mean, it's a compact car. It's not a smooth ride. You never knew they were a somewhat bumpy car. They were an economy compact car. Hardly anybody's coming, so we'll see what's left of these 120 horsepower. It still goes. Listen, engine sounds good, tranny shifts smooth. Hey, I mean, you can still get 33 miles a gallon on the highway. So what's the moral of this story? Well, don't judge a book by its cover. Be worn and frayed, and it has the detachable turn signals if you want. Take them out, put them back in. But the misfire was simply just replacing the spark plug. It's the advantage of these old cars. They're simpler to work on. Does it have a computer-operated ignition system? No. Spark plug wires and spark plugs. Our car, you can tell by the license plate. People all run into each other every 5 minutes there. But it still goes down the road, runs pretty good. You know, they did sell millions of these things. GM is not in the sedan business anymore, so they gave up with that route. Hey, for a while there, you know, they were still competing with the Japanese. And then they just gave up. This whole thing hasn't given up. It's still going down the road. He's been to Niagara Falls, went to Maine. He drives all over in this thing. So you should see him going down the road. Hey, give him a wave. Some old American Chevys, they actually did make them pretty good back in the day. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.